thought Robert would like that one. What's up, guys? We got
some new music, my friend. That's why some new music.
Some new stuff, man. I like it. A little bit of the
Spanish.
Desperados theme. Yeah, there you go, Fred. Spanish.
When did Daniel get hearing glasses?
Robert, we have a special guest today, my friend. We have the legendary Fred Fortman to share kind of his knowledge of Ninth. Fred has been playing 40K longer than anyone on our podcast and has gone through every edition change, I'm pretty sure. I don't know about first and second, but everything else I'm pretty sure you have, Fred. We're really happy you took some time today to talk to us. I saw some cool posts from you online. The one that got me saying, hey, we really need to get Fred on the cast was, I've already broken 9th, when's 10th coming out? I was like, man, we got to get this guy.
I need to know how 9th is already broken. I mean, they did already mess up and try to fix stuff in the fact, like the wording and stuff, and like for Space Wolves, they tried to make it so that the Saga of the Beast read exactly the same as the Codex, and instead decided to say everything's OBSEC accidentally. And you're like, well, we know what you were trying for, guys. So you get an A for effort, but a gold star just for participation in the outcome.
So welcome, Fred. Why don't you start off? Give us some background of how long you've been playing the game, how many editions you've gone through, and how you're approaching 9th.
Started at the very beginning of 3rd, so I've hit every edition all the way through 9th. And a new edition of 40K, I'm a big baseball guy, so if you're not, bear with me. A new edition of 40K is like the start of a baseball season. Hope springs eternal for every team. And it's kind of the same for everybody's army. It's a new edition. My army, which has languished for the last 2 editions, might actually have a chance. And so at the very beginning, at least for me and some of my friends, we always go back to the ones that we always kind of really liked ourselves. And there's always favorites. Like the Yankees are always a favorite in baseball every year. So you're going to have favorites like the Marines every edition. But it really is just exciting. It really is just exciting to be able to go back to your favorites and see if they actually work for one. And that's only at the very beginning. Then when the tournaments roll around, reality hits you in the face. The Royals are not going to win the World Series, so that just hits them in the face at that point.
I love all the baseball analogies, since Robert has no idea what baseball even is.
No, the best is, by the way, that Robert said, is that the hand egg with the black guy from the documentary, and then spelled Michael Jordan's name wrong.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, technically he did play baseball at one point in time. Not really known for his baseball
for his baseball skills. Yeah. It's like, isn't that guy one of those baseball players? No, I agree. I agree with you.
I wrote Michelle Jordan, but Michael sounds good.
I had a high school player who I played with in high school, played with Jordan when he was in the minors, the Birmingham Barons.
Whoa. All right.
Nice.
That's a cool
Tell us
story.
stuff about that.
Maybe played some golf too and gambled with him. Heard he has a little bit of a gambling problem.
People gamble everything.
No, Robert has a very similar idea to you, Fred. So when 9th edition was coming out, Robert's first idea was to run 3 golden rhinos and just see how it does in a Custodes army. So, Robert, how's that going for you? Are you still optimistic and hopeful, like Fred was talking about with the edition change, or have you now gotten sullen and drinking?
Well, I am drinking. It's a nice Chilean wine, Sauvignon Blanc. And I don't have a glass because I can't leave my charger, because then my computer will die. So I'm drinking straight on the phone.
Tech reasons.
Too many problems for Robert here. Too many problems for Robert.
It's hard. Computers are hard. No, but no, I'm optimistic. But some armies just seem broken, and so many armies have turned to shit. I don't think people know how bad some armies are.
Really?
I think you're understating some. What do you think are the poo ones? I feel like I can make I can make a tournament-worthy list with anything right now.
Fred just put it the way I felt. Fred just said, when the edition came out, everyone's got some hope. Everyone's trying to work on things. How can you possibly know, Robert, if something doesn't work yet? How could you know that?
Tell me what you think is the poo. What's in the cellar?
Well, the thing is, if this Fred guy has been through so many edition changes, he should know that there's always a way for Games Workshop to fuck shit up, and it doesn't take long. It usually takes about.
Robert's right about that, but just at the very beginning, we don't know what's screwed up. So we're like hopeful for a moment.
Well, I would say land speeder, double heavy flamer. I would say eradicators. I would say, yeah,
Well, shit, I just built 6 eradicators. At this point.
yeah. Devast-
We were talking about what we thought was the actual shit. If we talk about what's
That's all really good
laughably
stuff, dude.
Yeah, that's all the good stuff, man. We wanted the poo. What's in the
Well,
cellar? Let's
well,
go.
the poo
What's in
is
the base?
Tyranids, which is the army I'm trying to sell right now. So that worked out great.
I mean, Gaunts and Neuralthropes are good. Just bring all of them. Only just Gaunts and Synapse. There you go.
49 Rippers to control the board, 5 Biovores, 2 Sporocysts, flavor in maybe 16 Zoanthropes to knock anybody out of close combat. You control the whole board. You get all the primaries. You get all the movement secondaries. They just knock their heads against Ripper swarms.
I still like Hive. I like Hive Guard a lot still in that list. 6 Hive Guard feels like an auto still.
Fred, are you approaching the edition with an eye on essentially points per wound and trying to mitigate kind of the fact that we no longer need to kill things to win the game with just sheer board control?
I think like Friday and Saturday, I was all excited for killing things. And then by Sunday, it was OBSEC on objectives. How long can I live?
It's
Because
the Poxwalker.
If I'm tabled on turn 4, I can still win the game.
You went back to Poxwalker 6th edition strategies of I don't need to kill anything. I just need to wrap something and just exist on the table.
Rapping doesn't exist either. You just hang out. You just touch.
You just touch now.
Yeah,
So Fred, what do you think is the biggest change so far, based on what you've seen so far? What's the biggest change to tell people who maybe they got a book, maybe they don't, but they haven't read it yet, sitting on a shelf, they're going to get to it when they can? What would you tell them? The biggest thing?
The missions dictate your army list almost always. And so with kills going bye-bye, in most of the games I've played so far, I've let them kill lots of stuff and I've won the game pretty handily. You know, it's those missions really control things a lot. They just need a couple more kills to keep people honest.
Yeah, and it
I
looks.
agree on that. I think the key, we talked about over the weekend.
Yeah,
we had everybody come down at Toledo, and that was the consensus for everybody. Is we all wish that the missions are fine. They're giving more secondaries. They're putting out. They've already said that with chapter approved, they're going to get more and more. The books have more secondaries, but everybody was like, basically kill points. If you just added kill points, just not even say anything else is wrong, but just add kill points to every single mission, you would have just another element that would really separate things.
How many points would you assign to it, Brad, do you think? Because right now the primary seems really stacked. I feel like if you run away with the primary, it's hard to lose.
That's the thing is like you're choosing what you're going to do on secondaries, you know what I mean? And if you choose the right secondaries, you're looking at 12 to 15 per, you know what I mean? They're not as easy as ITC were, but they're still, you can, if you're doing it right, you can get most of your points. So you're looking at 45 and 45. That's the thing is that I need.
No, it's 60. Primary 60.
It's 45.
45.
Oh, is it 45? I thought it was 5
45,
points per.
45.
Okay.
You can, but the max is still 45. You could score 60, but you can't score 60.
Okay.
They cap it at 45. So you effectively have 45 and 45, and then I think that if you put a kill point in there, and I might even do it at like a 2-for-1 kind of deal, and then just do the differential, just like a ETC/WTC. But they need something to just different because Fred and I are playing right now. And we basically trade back and forth because the way it is that because the entire game is you running up to contest, your opponent's objectives getting killed. He comes up to contest my objectives. He gets killed back and forth. We could easily be tied or within 5 of each other on that. And then secondaries be tied. And having a kill point thing makes it so you have one thing to think about, though, because right now there's nothing to stop me or even to deter me from. I have units that literally every single turn I just run a 5-man unit up or a 10-man unit guard or whatever you're playing every single turn to try to stop 5 points from my opponent. Yep. Who's progressive at least every turn. And there's nothing to deter. There's no reason not to. I don't have any.
No, I think Fred's got a really good point. The missions are a big deal. It looks like so far most of the big guys. I mean, I know COVID's going on right now, but let's think positively. COVID goes away, we get a vaccine or something, and tournaments get rolling. It sounds like most of the big wig tournaments are going to be running those mission books. I mean, I know ITC is. Mike Brandt's new whole role at GW is going to be running those missions, which means Nova's going to be running those missions. Which I think Adepticon and Jason are definitely going to be running those missions. missions. So I think it's going to be very consistent. So I think Fred, you have a really, really good point. In the past, we've seen different missions at different tournaments that have led to a whole different kind of approach. And these missions are really going to impact the way people design armies.
Going to have to be a couple big ones before either TOs step up or if GW just adds, Brant adds some things to it. But yeah, I mean, we can give it a try. It's still a lot of theory hammer until you get a big group of guys. I feel like there's millions of little metas all over the country right now, and at a tournament is where all the millions of little metas meet up, and hey, that's the meta over there in Eastern Tennessee that works. So everybody copy that one real quick, kind of thing.
I love that there's little mini metas though, man. I do. I mean, I want the tournaments to happen, but I'm super excited for the first big tournament because I think you're going to just have just all these super different armies, coming out, because each person, like you were saying, each area is going to have this is what works. You know what I mean? And then you're going to have all of those meeting. And usually there's been enough tournaments and homogenization where everything kind of comes out a little bit the same. But now I think it's going to be all over the place. I'm super excited for the first big one because you're going to have just nutbag everything all over the place, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, I think I'm also excited for that too. From an army perspective, I agree with Fred on the original thought, which is go back and look at those lists that you love, figure out whether or not Truck Boys have play. I think they do, by the way, and identify whether or not you have some options with some lists that weren't historically good. I mean, I've been looking through all the Forge World stuff to see if there's any kind of hidden gem somewhere in there that I could exploit. I don't know if Forge World does have one, but everything else I've been looking at. Fred, what army are you excited about?
I'm baiting up Alpha Legion a lot because I like the color scheme, and it had Alpha Legion the very first. 9th edition team tournament at Adepticon. We brought Alpha Legion, and it was god awful. 4 of our games we were paired up with Guard, and they just picked the relic that kills us. So it was just bad luck of the draw. So they've just been sitting on the shelf, nicely painted, because Brian Carlson was my teammate. They've been sitting there nicely painted for a long time, and I'm like, I want to get these guys on the table, kind of a thing. I don't know if it'll work or not, but at the very beginning, you can always try. And then if it doesn't, I just have the fallback of the White Scars, which I know will do fine.
Okay.
White Scars seems so good, dude.
Yeah, White Scars. Brad's got some White Scar love, some Blood Angels love, some Space Wolves love. Robert, what are you excited for? You haven't mentioned some excitement.
They got good.
Oh, got some Custodes.
I've been rocking 6 games with Custodes.
Did they get good, or are you just saying that because they stayed the same points?
Well,
what makes them good?
The command points.
Okay.
I'm actually using the fucking free command points. I'm gonna charge it in your face.
Yeah, he gets real command points, and the Psyche Awakening did him justice, man. They got some real shit.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that I get to call them Golden Bananas makes me super excited because that's the best chapter name ever.
Yeah. Plus, the biggest thing is that salvo launchers are free now. So good. I run 9 bikes and I get free Meltas instead of stupid bolters that doesn't do anything.
Custodes have a stratagem to re-roll the damage on those salvos. So if you have them already in a group of 3, that's 3 guys who can re-roll their damage.
Plus, the Terminator strats are just super good. I mean, you have just a lot of options. I mean, it's not like the bikes did. I mean, Stooping Dive still is gross. All of that, they got things they can do. The fact that they've just got a ton of their own OPSECs and their Dreadnoughts are just badass right now.
I don't think people realize how good you cannot reroll anything against this unit is. Because there's one unit that you have to kill in Custodes, and you're not allowed to do anything against it. Yeah. You can even decrease the strength of it. Okay, you have assault cannons. Yeah, sure. No rerolls with your stupid chapter monster, and you're going to wound me on 5s or 6.
They got to be good. Superman's painting them. Henry Cavill.
Yeah, sick.
He is a big fan, yeah. Yeah, they have a lot. I mean, there's some sick memes going on with him right now. It's pretty cool.
Robert literally looks like he's falling off the screen. Are you okay? Do we need to send some help?
I don't know.
You're slowly sinking away.
Just back up a little bit. Just back up a little bit from the camera.
This is the thing. I moved my camera so I can't see myself on Skype. I'll see if I can get. Okay.
That's okay. You look fine. The next thing I was going to ask is, so Fred, I know you've gotten it. You must have gotten in some 9th games based on what you've been posting online. So I'm assuming you got in a few. What are your thoughts about the size of the board and the impact it has on the game?
I can't hide from 36-inch range gun, or you can just put them on the back of the board. So 36 is the new 48, and 48 is a luxury you don't need to have. So you better have. So my regular play partner Greg Swanson, if I go to his house, he's got the old ITC terrain, and his entire board doesn't get covered. But if we meet up at Games Plus, they've got giant pieces, and the board gets covered. So he always plays Knights at his house, and he brings something else to Games Plus because he knows that's how that works. But the board size, really, it's harder to hide on the backboard edge if you have a fast army. You're going to be in range of stuff. Plus, you got to get up to the objectives anyway. So, as long as you have line of sight blockers, you should be fine. If you don't, and I'm thinking of some stores, or some smaller places that I go to play sometimes in a month, you don't have so much. It's still going to be it's going to be a worse shooting gallery than before. So, I hope they upgrade some of that terrain.
The thing is, I guess if you go to the smaller stores and stuff like that, but just thinking about all the majors and things like that, you're going to have like a lot of terrain, especially if they keep the same type of terrain setups, because you lose 23.7% of the board, so almost a quarter, and then you keep the same general terrain layouts. That's some serious LOS blocking. You know what I mean? You're going to be able to go from thing to thing. And
I wish we don't have the stores here in Northern Illinois and the local tournaments tend to have Adepticon style terrain because that's kind of what they play into a lot. You've got to drive to another state, and you've got those big giant L's that even a knight can hide behind, right? They're in the middle, like the pro tabletop standard. They just haven't made their way up here at all. But one thing for sure about the board besides that is mention Eradicators. Boys coming off the ed tables, the sides of the tables can reach stuff now.
Yep.
They could so outflanking or strategic reserves, you're going to be a serious threat. You can't because of the shrinking of the board.
Yeah, bringing them in on turn 3, you can really get corners really good. And you can come in from angles that before would seem like you wouldn't really pose a threat to the game or impact anything because you're out of position, but you're no longer out of position, I think, with the fact that the board lost the 12 inches on the sides.
I'm not going to lie. The last 10 games, I haven't brought a gun over 24 inches because of the fact that the engagement, I know that you have to take objectives that are going to be close to me, even on reserves. So I just come in and just push up and shoot. It's just weird. I mean, like you were saying, like 36 inches is the long range gun now. You know what I mean? I 100% believe that. Just anything that's 48 just feels like when you shoot in the Earthshaker. You're like, okay, I got 240 inches. You're like, great, cool. Whatever. 48 almost feels the same way on that now. You never need that. You need the 36 I think you're super right on that. The 36 is basically the new long range gun.
Yeah, we used to have old tournaments, Brad, at the bunker here where you could, if you at the range, you could affect someone else's table during the event. That was fun.
Yeah. Earthshaker love coming at everybody.
Yeah, I just don't like some other guy over there.
Table over there.
Yeah,
not my table.
You'd affect another table. I used to run a series of events over there. Fred had a famous game there that I'll never forget. It's one of my favorite games I ever seen Fred play. So.
I have several, and I don't know what you're talking about. Let's move on.
I think a good question, Fred, is to get your perspective. We rant a lot on our podcast about different things that we'd like to see and stuff that we'd like to see in 9th edition and things we'd like GW to do. What do you think, if anything, do you think there was a missed opportunity with this edition, or a missed opportunity in the way they released it, or the content provided, or anything? Any kind of missed goals that GW could have hit?
I'll give them a pass because of COVID. I'm sure it screwed up a bunch of timelines here or there, which is what I'm hearing for the app. That's kind of what screwed up the app initially. I guess the only thing I wish they would have released it a little sooner. Where you had the whole summer to jury rig it, not just the end of the summer. Especially announcing an edition in beginning of June, and then you got to wait basically 2 months for it to come. It was like nerve wracking. I was constantly at like 9 o'clock going on all different types of Discords, depending on when they were waking up to see who had the leak the first.
Yeah, you were posting leaks like crazy on Facebook. You were the first person I saw who said it's a 44 by 60 board, and I saw on our Chicago page everyone's like, "Nah, you're crazy. We'll never play that." And I'm like, "No, Fred's got it. He knows what he's talking about," and everyone is going to play it.
Yeah. I cut the board just to see what I have 3.
Your picture of cutting the board was used everywhere. On every podcast, on every stream. Frontline used it. I think everyone used that picture. It was on Spiky Bits article. That picture of you cutting that board, that was everywhere. I saw it everywhere. So
I have 2 others. I don't use them. And I'm rolling up that one that I cut and bringing it to Games Plus later tonight to play another game 40K, because all their tables are 6x4. And I don't want to sit there with little dice, and mark off everything.
Yeah.
We did Snakes has a good thing. He literally made basically a board, a table condom, cut out a 4x12 like little sleeve that slides on.
Colored?
I told him that he made it just full like leather. It's like a leather. It's stylish.
Yeah, I'm getting one made. Same thing, Brad. I'm making a regular table like 48 by 72, and then I just have the design grayed out with like boxes and stuff to put your reserves and stuff, 6 inches on each side and 2 inches on each of the long sides, just so you have extra space.
I'll hook you guys up. We have a Swedish invention called scissors.
You don't need scissors. I like the extra space.
You can adjust any table mat to the size you want. It's super
let's
effective.
be honest, it's been a 4x6 for what, 25, almost 30 years. I wouldn't just destroy all my mats yet. So if they move back to that,
they're not going to. But I have a table right there, and I like the extra space. Whenever I played on the 6x4 foot board, whatever, I always wanted more room, anyways. So this is great. It's a smaller board, and now I have room to put dead models. I have room to put dice that are not on the table. I always hate when I have to move dice because I have to move models onto where they are, or someone wants the deep strike there, and I have to move the dice out of the way. So that was always annoying. Now you have all this extra space on the table. I really think all tournaments should either just use masking tape or buy like that condom mat thing that Brad was talking about or something.
They should just make the mats with like reserves, strategic reserves, and like victory points, and just use.
That would be cool too. 100%. That's actually a really good idea. I might do that.
Mats, they're super good.
Yeah, because you can actually have it, and then that's the next time that you don't have to destroy your own unit because you forgot to bring it out. You have it sitting there right in the reserve section.
Yeah, exactly.
You're old as shit.
Yep.
Sorry about that, Fred. I know you're old too.
I still think I'm the oldest person here, as usual. Do I not even count for this anymore? We're just assuming that I'm old.
we all know you're as old as dust, Brad. You're like a dying sun. So I think we got first armies. We got biggest changes. Robert, I'd like to get your perspective on missed opportunity. You are extremely, reserved in what you say. So I know you're not a guy who's usually blunt. So what missed opportunities do you have?
Yeah, Robert never says what he's thinking.
Well, I think they missed some opportunities, as like you guys said with the missions. I think they could have done more. Like all the missions seems a bit similar, in my opinion. And same with the mission, like tacticals, it's always like a secondary mission, hold some objectives or something, and it's stupid. It should be more kill points,
more ETC like.
And it could actually be like a main objective that wasn't like entirely just like hold objectives. It could just be in the center or something, or like get to the other side of the board or something.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind full tertiary or something too. Like I mean, just have progressive. Your secondaries, and then some sort of end game.
You're basically saying you would like them to have ETC missions. You're literally describing exactly an ETC mission and saying like I'd like this to happen.
Do you guys really like the new character rules? Because I don't think they actually does something. Well, I
think that my personal opinion, which is a good segue, Robert, is essentially they're trying to slowly get 40K to where Age of Sigmar is. So this is the first step to where 10th edition comes out and you can shoot any character you want. They can't hide. They just get a -1 to be shot, but they can be shot anywhere, which is how AOS is played. And speaking of 10th edition, Fred Fortman has claimed he's broken 9th. So I want to know what he meant by that post online where he's broken 9th and he's ready for 10th. What did he mean by that? What was the broken shenanigans you're talking about? Or are you just talking some smack online to get people riled up?
I feel he's going to talk to us about missionaries.
Definitely talking smack to get people riled up.
Well, to be honest, if he's right, I want you guys to bring down this stream and then just like win
Yeah,
shit
exactly.
with
We don't want to
disinformation.
tell anybody else. We want to share.
We're not streaming. We're recording.
The Leviathan list was a secret at Charity Hammer in January, though there were whispers of it, and 3 of the Yahoos were there in Washington. And then, it broke out onto the scene with all the Sunshine State bringing all of them to LVO. So they were able to keep it relatively good secret for 6 weeks.
Yeah,
so there was some heavy drinking and some snickering late at night, I've been told.
Yeah, I think some people knew about it, but yeah.
I did say that they're cheaters for that because those guys don't drink. So I said every game they played versus me is them cheating because I always am drinking. So I said that it's not fair. You have to drink.
So what are your thoughts on that, Fred? What are your thoughts on that list and that approach? Do you think that making a list like that catches everyone off guard and in my opinion, these are my words, so you can use them however you want, take them, into whatever context you'd like. But I think they kind of broke the way the rules were intended, and they found a loophole in rules to basically get that advantage in the tournament. That I know for a fact when GW saw that army and how it was played on the table, they were mortified by the gap that they made in the event, and they basically qualified the entire tournament to being ruined by that particular opening, that gap. Even though I think Brad, if he yeah, exactly.
They literally started rewriting. He was putting in
on the spot
that FAQ literally on the spot. I don't know if this is 100%, but I was told that the email was sent on the plane to basically this is the new change.
Yeah, and even though
they watch my finals game,
and even though Brad could have won that game if he was thinking logically, but he was tired and didn't really he suffered from old man syndrome and ended up losing.
I think I missed this. What is this story? Like, what army was this?
It was the Iron Hands where they dumped everything.
Hey, Robert, there's a thing. Just go on Google and then type in LVO winning army, and then you'll see 15 articles about a list that was unbeatable, essentially. Like 8 people took it, and 4 of them made the end of LVO.
Beat it 3 times, lost once.
And 8 people took it, and the list only lost 3 games total. So
I think that was all to me.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was all to Brad.
And then I ended up losing it.
Anyways. No, you beat it twice, Brad. Someone else randomly beat one of those guys. But anyways, what are your thoughts, Fred? Do you think that's an okay approach? Do you think that's a good thing for the game, bad thing for the game? Just an unfortunate reality of the game.
For that particular list and style, that John Lennon, who was one of the authors of that list, he lives for that type of stuff. He lives to find those types of brokenness. I'm on a couple Discords with him, and he will find a lot more, right? And just say, somebody's got to get rid of this because this combination is the worst, right? And if nobody gets rid of it, he says, you have to get rid of it because then otherwise I'm going to play it. So for me personally, he just can't stop finding the brokenness. But for me personally, I'm not a big fan of that because one email on a plane can nullify your whole army, right? I like to have, if I'm going to put all the effort into buying and painting an army, and for me it takes a while to paint it, then I want it to have some lasting value. I want to be able to still tweak some stuff and still be effective. I don't need to win the greatest tournament in the world, but I got to be above 500 every time.
I learned that lesson the hard way, Fred. I flew all the way out to California a week before the BAO with my Razor Wing Flock Army to do a road trip with my wife from San Diego all the way to San Fran and then keep going up to Eureka. And in the middle of that trip, they just got rid of Razor Wing Flock. They were like, it all costs twice as much now. And Reese is like, we're implementing this rule now. The tournament's in 5 days, and we're implementing it now. So it's legal for the event. And I'm like, I don't have another army. I'm already in California. Like, there's nothing I can do. So,
well, the good news, you had double your army just in case.
I had 2 Razor Wing Flock armies then. So I totally get that.
Twice as cheap, so
that risk. Yeah.
What are you going to bring? So I'm going to give this to Robert and Fred here. What do you guys bring in? There's a tournament next week. What do you bring in? You want to win? What do you bring in? You actually do have a tournament.
Robert's like, I really do have an event.
Sorry.
I live in a country that took COVID seriously.
First of all, it's less than 50 people because, Sweden. Like our big tournaments is like 90 people. So, but I'm bringing custodes. But if I could, I would bring Space Marines. But I don't have enough painted.
What about you,
What
Fred?
about yourself, Fred?
Yeah, if I had to win the game, and remember 10 points counts for painted, right?
Mhm.
So, like, the White Scars don't even have primer on them. But Brad, I've been following you in various places. Art of War on your Friday shows are fantastic, and every now and then I catch you with Team Battle Brothers when you're with that other dude who's in the Batcave. It's all dark and his face is lit up and he's got gloves on. Like I'm back in.
What is this?
It's Nathan's setup.
That sounded scary, man.
Fire the Masquerade and Brad. But you have, I like your ideas for the White Scars, and I think that would be my first if I had a win. But if I had the army that's very close to being finished painted is Noise Marines, and I think they would do fantastic. They've done very well when I've played them so far for 9. They've got a lot of answers for things.
Oh,
They did well this weekend. One of my buddies came out and he was playing Noise Marines, and I felt that there was lots of ideas and just play. I think Chaos just period has kind of a lot of play in them right now. Just different. I mean, you could play Death Guard and just go, I have the most insane stuff. But as far as Chaos as a whole, you can take a lot of First Strike's strong. I mean, it just that's huge, man.
I don't know if you heard this yet, Fred, but through the rumor mill, nothing to do with Brad. And Brad cannot comment, most likely. I heard that Heretic Astartes Space Marines and regular Space Marines, this would include Noise Marines, are all going to get +1 wound very soon.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah.
So. I heard there was a boost to their profile.
Yeah, a boost.
But I'm like, no, they're not going to make them +1 boost. They're not going to make them +7.
Well, to be honest, it's not the fucking Noise Marines I'm worried about. It's going to be the Deathwatch guys with shield and a Stormbolter and 2 wounds. Because that seems super good.
Yep, Deathwatch seem really good too.
The Deathwatch guys, they really play spoiler to a lot of that entire house in Florida would have so many problems with a Deathwatch army.
Fred is a big Deathwatch player, guys.
They play all infantry lists constantly all the time. And they would have a big problem with Deathwatch. They just dismiss them outright. I mean, you could do it if nobody picks them up, their fringe army, so on and so forth. But that's
Plus,
still...
Aggressor is good now.
That's the last game.
When it's tactical.
I don't know. Veterans still seem really good, man. I mean, I don't know if they're going to get top tier on it, but like Deathwatch, they were saying they are a good spoiler, man, because I don't know, those veteran units feel fantastic. You have so many options. You have the special ammo. You can just literally, as long as you're making somebody take a lot of saves, you always have a chance to just win right there. You're like, hey, take 30 saves per squad. You know what I mean? Shooting at you, you're all of a sudden like, well, crap. I got a good save, but
when Storm Shields change to +1 armor save or a 4+ invulnerable, that's going to give basic veteran all the Terminator save. I used to abuse the 2+ Terminator save and the 3+ invulnerable save by switching back and forth. But now every single veteran is going to have the 2+ armor save versus all the little crap shit coming in. I don't care if they have 2 wounds or not. That's going to ramp up the survivability of the whole unit, because that's what really brought them down. It was, way to fire the 2 Terminators finally get taken out, and then just make a million 3+ saves. You can do that.
Yeah, that was the last game we played, Fred. It was me versus you with your old Deathwatch army, and luckily I went first. If not, I would have got blown off the table.
Your shock attack gun, gun went crazy.
Yeah, it went nuts. It went nuts. Talk to Brad. Talk to Brad about it.
Yes. We're all like, oh no, the shock attack gun's going away. I'm so sad. Oh.
I'll drink to that.
I had Fred at ATC against Brad. I had 40 shots with the shock attack gun in 2 turns, down 4 different planes in his army.
It did not feel great.
That was the 3rd game, Gallon. That game against you was the 3rd time I had faced a shock attack gun. The first 2 times it had done nothing, and then it just, I understand what people say. Even the orc players, it would do nothing for a couple games, and then one game it
wins you the whole game. Yeah, it wins you the whole game. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So Fred, unlike other editions, since you mentioned earlier you've been around since early 3rd, how big of a change do you feel 8th is to 9th? I don't think any the second biggest change.
Yeah,
What's the
I mean, because you could say 7 to 8 was the biggest rules change, though the missions kind of stayed the same. This one has the biggest mission change. So that in and of itself is a big change by itself. There's been before there were changes where
think it was bigger than 4 to 5?
blows up and you become entangled, or you can't charge a unit that you didn't shoot at. Those are kind of wishy-washy changes, but a mission change affects all armies across the board.
And a table change, mission change. I would argue that the way that armies are created now, where command points are essentially now a currency in building your list, that's a significant change as well, like a very big change, right? Because if you were to just take that out of the scope, let's say, for example, you're one of the mass people I see on the internet who's literally approaching 9th edition with the percentage of points changes between armies, right? Like my unit, this unit in 8th was this, and now it's this. Oh, the percentage of change is very small. And if that's all they're looking at, multi-codex armies would be amazing to play. But you have to take everything into consideration. You have to take the board in consideration, the missions in consideration, and now the way that you construct the armies. I think Brad's question was, Fred, do you think 4th to 5th? Was that your question, Brad? 4th to 5th?
Yeah, do you think it's bigger than 4? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, do you think it's bigger than 4th to 5th? Because 4th to 5th was a huge deal. They changed basically mechanics and missions again. So I mean, it still might be more, but the same type of thing happened from 4th to 5th.
I'll be honest with you, Brad. At 49 years old, and you might be older, it's starting to run through a little bit.
He's not older. He's not older.
Starting to run through a little bit. 4th, 5th. What was that? Ooh, what happened where with what?
That was the addition of flyers. Flyers came into the picture.
Back in 4th and 5th, we weren't all playing. Like, I know Chicagoland area was playing Adepticon style missions.
Yeah, only Adepticon.
Back then, I was helping to run Adepticon in the Gladiator tournament. I ran that,
Yep.
and people would come in from around the country, and they would be very unfamiliar with any of our missions. So, whatever change in missions there was, the 4th to 5th, it wasn't
a big deal.
like
It wasn't a big deal.
Every single tournament is adapting these missions.
Gotcha.
Now.
I can see that.
It's not a mission and a LVO mission. It's a everybody mission. And when you look at those design layouts, some of those mission design layouts are what Jason Lippert was doing last winter.
Yep.
In a couple tournaments he was running around here.
Yep.
I mean, we just thought, oh, look, it's a wacky new design. That's what Adepticon kind of does. But, oh, wait a minute. This mission that has the 6 objectives, they're kind of 4 of them are in a diagonal.
It's the exact same mission. Yep.
The other 2, he was running that same mission.
Yeah, he was running that.
The same
he
design.
was running back on the bigger table, though. So it becomes we actually said that. I was like, this is going to be way smaller table. It'll run a lot different, man.
Well, also, I think Jason is famous for, I've been a very big voice against this. I hate it. I think it's the worst thing ever, which is locking in all your decisions on your army list for the full tournament. I absolutely hate that more than anything ever. I've been very vocal with Jason on that. For multiple reasons. I think a general should be able to pick the warlord traits at the table, pick all their special army stuff at the table, decide to use relics or not at the table. I mean, some armies I want to take a relic that I didn't want to take before. Some armies I want a warlord trait different. Sisters of Battle even. I mean, we had to, if Adepticon was, if Adepticon did happen, with COVID and everything, I know it's canceled, but if it did happen, Sisters of Battle players would have had to decide whether they were going to roll for their rights or whether they were going to pick one for every single game. And it just goes fundamentally against, in my opinion, what the game is. And now GW says, nope, Jason was right. So it's like, man, I really hate that.
As a Chaos player, my Alpha Legion and my Noise Queens love, I won't be seeing the Relic of Lost Cadia every time.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem, though. Is my only issue with stuff like that is we don't have as much diversity, because like in Chaos, I'm not going to take Death Hex to try to get rid of Invulns if I have to run with it the entire tournament, and you just won't see certain things.
Well, there's like some really cool situational warlord traits. Like I 100% agree that the warlord for the Acadia one for guard, where you get to just reroll everything. That one's just
broken anyways.
That one's super targeted.
Chaos?
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have a bad game.
I don't like anything that's like super targeted for an entire faction of opposition. But like small things, like small little warlord traits, I think are really important. Like giving my war boss the ability to be a beat stick in combat and picking that against the Knight player is awesome. But having my War Boss be a bit stick in combat against Tau is meaningless. So I would like to do something else. I'd like to do a different thing for them. So those are the kind of like general approaches I would put. I think the Cadia example is like the one. I mean, one of probably more, but the one that I think would be a bad example of like,
I think, yeah, I agree. I mean, I played Death Watch, like you said, and a bunch of times, and my big bane is mortal wounds, but I'm not going to have my librarian take the anti-mortal wounds spell unless you have mortal wounds, right?
Exactly.
So now I'm going to decide before the tournament, geez, am I going to have this in my back pocket? Because mortal wounds can really kill me. But with, you know what? Maybe they will introduce some stuff like the Chaos Familiar. The Chaos Familiar allows the sorcerer to swap out of power in the middle of the game.
Yep.
Power.
Yep.
Maybe more factions can have stuff like that to kind of help tailor for a stratagem.
They might. Sisters can re-roll one of those dice. So sisters have that, Fred. For 1 CP, you can re-roll one of your. So you can roll 2 dice to get your faith power, and then there's a command point that lets you re-roll it every turn if you want.
Well,
they have to do something on that.
Which is super good because people are slow as shit.
Yeah, but like, really, are people really that slow and just putting their psychic powers on?
I'm going to say this again and again and again. Regardless of what they do to the rules, regardless of the points, regardless of the table size, people are still going to play 3 turns, my friend, because the people playing 3 turns always play 3 turns. It doesn't matter. You're not going to make those people play any faster. That's not going to happen. So trying to solve that problem is just a waste of time. Just use chess clocks. It's the best thing we have for it. I know it's not a perfect science. It doesn't necessarily work all the time. I'm personally horrible with them. I find it harder to finish games with a chess clock than without. But I think that's the best tool we have for that. And to just assign blame, essentially. Right, like there's no other way.
Picks, I mean, if you're using a chess clock, I give no shits how long you take picking your stuff. It's on your time.
Yeah, but me and you, Brad, are bad at chess clocks. I mean, you asked for someone to manage your clock.
I mean, let's be honest.
Chess clock,
I actually don't click over off my time for basically the entire game.
That's what I do. Same thing. I forget to click it, and I have opponents who just don't remind me. Then the time's on me, and they're doing stuff. And I just forget nonstop. I lose maybe 10, 15 minutes in the course of the game, just for that. So it's rough. I got to get better. I got to get better at that.
I'm like somewhere in the middle. Alan hates it. I don't, and Robert likes it, and I'm kind of in the middle on it because I do like the ability to see different shit though. Because the problem is that if you pick everything before the tournament, you're only ever going to see the top 1 or 2. You know what I mean? You're not going to ever see different relics and different psychics because you have to choose the ones that are going to be good versus everyone. They're not going to be situational. So you're never going to see 3 or 4 out of the psychics of any of the charts because you're always going to choose, exactly those 1 or 2 things that are, the top, and that's it.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I have is you just see less variety. It's just cool to see more stuff.
Yep. No, I definitely agree. I mean, luckily, hopefully we have some tournaments soon so we can see some of this in action and see kind of, what people are taking, because I am curious. I like how Fred mentioned earlier the little micro metas going on all over the country right now, and when everyone comes to a big tournament, they get meshed together, and you get to see kind of what everyone's thinking. So, because I still am looking at orcs, making orcs good. I know people online are talking about orcs being bad, but I want to make some fun orc armies. I think
comments made God angry because he sent a flood to Sweden.
A flood to Sweden.
There's so much water right now.
I actually think that we put some orcs on the table, and I really like. I'm not gonna lie. I think orcs are still, dude. 2 big units of boys, 2 tank busters, and some mega knobs is still. It feels strong, dude. You got 2 units. One to jump, maybe 1 in reserve. Mega knobs jumping up if you want to, and tank busters because of the fact that there's so much vehicle mech stuff out there right now. They just feel good. I mean, it may not be the end all be all, but it feels.
Yeah, it's just hard to get them on paper to compete. I got to play with some real people in real life, other than Aaron Tyler. But I'll start scheduling some games locally and trying to get them against like White Scars and some of the other lists, just to see how they compete with them.
The background noise the last 2 days have been Hordes of the Secret Power. I know Mitch Pelham is all in 100% for Hordes. I know. The Falcon has been parroting Hordes nonstop. He claims half of Australia, so that's going to be Morrisoli and them, are all over Hordes. Um, there's some secret power with that that's freaking people out. It was Tyranids primarily, even Orc secondarily. So you got something there, seriously. I mean, because you can have a million obsec bodies.
That's
a million obsec bodies. I don't care if you've got some blast, and you've got blast on tanks. It doesn't help because you're just going to go tag them. And none of the blast works.
We've talked about that.
We talked about that before too. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like such a trap. You're like, okay, well, you may get one round of shooting, and all of a sudden you're touched, and you're not getting any shots.
I think the blast weaponry actually hurts MSU-based armies or armies that are like MSU style or more elite-based armies that are taking squads of 6 or more. So, like, I played Aaron Towler with his intercessors, and he just happened to take a squad of 10, and he didn't think it was a big deal. Oh, smash guns made it a very big deal. It was gone quickly. You lost those 5 guys so fast, and it was very difficult for me to kill the other 5. But the first 5, just because I was getting those 3 shots automatically, they were just dropping. And I think for armies like that, taking like 10 Guardians, maybe not Guardians. Guardians are a bad example because they're so cheap. But taking anything more than 5 in a more elite-based unit, that's not a good idea. But taking 30 boys, I think, still has very much a real life use case, especially with the jump and being able to threaten things pretty easily and just tie them up, touch them.
Morale won't kill you. They have to kill you physically down to 1 guy or kill you down to 0 guys because morale. If you fail the morale, it's not going to kill you now.
Yeah, that's true too.
You're just going to green tide them, and here we go again.
Yep. Yeah, that's a big thing too. The morale change is huge actually for all my horde based armies. I've been playing a couple games, and they're doing really well. So I do think there's some really good stuff there, and I think people originally when they saw the blast rules, kind of jumped out immediately against playing some of those lists. And I think some of those lists are dead. I think the Gretchen list is dead. But I think there are some alternative lists that I think have a lot of play. So looking into those, and I thought what you said earlier about the Rippers and about the Nids is an interesting concept too that I was looking at. I'm looking at the same thing with Scarabs in a Necron army, a couple Scarabs and Warriors.
You them as a brigade. You them as a brigade, so it's 9 5-man units. They're not even going to be hit by the horde problem, the blast problem.
Yeah, you could do that too. Yep. Yeah, just a ton of wounds.
Super fucking good.
Yeah, Nurgling's feeling insane.
Nurgling's feeling insane, yeah.
Because they also start on the objectives.
Yeah, they start wherever you want them to start. There's like, boom, 9 inches away. Let's play.
Where do you want me, baby? Anywhere. Yeah. I made it sexual.
Yes, it's Nurgle, not Slaanesh.
Speaking of Slaanesh, that's another list. I don't know if you guys have looked into it at all, but the rush capabilities with like a monster mash seeker army is gross. And I think it has a lot of play in at least being fun and at least being a pretty big spoiler at an event. I don't necessarily know if it can go undefeated because it could definitely suffer from just running into the wrong opponent with the wrong kind of firepower and not getting first turn. But that army just clears the board so fast, and just the fact that they always strike first regardless is so good in the new edition. And I really think it's an interesting approach to a Slaanesh army. That would be really, really fun too. Like multiple keepers, and just some seeker units and some fiends. Just mad rush your opponent. So another thing I'm looking at too.
I think there's just so many good things, man. I'm not gonna lie. It might, come down to, again, where you got like 3 armies total that are really, everybody's taking. But right now it feels like everybody has something. Yeah.
But don't you guys feel like it's too good to go first?
No,
I actually don't.
100%.
Here's why. After a couple games, the person who goes first, he puts his army on the table first, right? Like in the sense that he's going to start pushing for objectives while you're still hiding. If I deploy in a reserved manner, right, in a smart way, and you push up to get those middle objectives, I have the first strike on you now, right? And you have a rebuttal, obviously, but you're going to take damage before I do.
Terrain, of course.
Yeah. You need proper terrain. Without proper terrain, if going first, you just blow them off the board.
So you actually get the chance to always kill that person off the objective. You have to design your army appropriately, though. I mean, obviously, it's going to take. You might have there's armies that are going to be a big deal to go first, but as a whole, especially if you're playing the lower body count armies, I would much rather go second because I then go up, kill you off that objective. I've lost 0, and you have to now come do the same thing, but you're now down firepower.
I think ultra competitive 9th edition will be 2 players who fundamentally know that they have to deploy in a very conservative way to minimize casualties as much as possible if they don't go first, but still maintain the ability to strike their opponent if they decide to come out to mid board. That's really going to be the elite players of 9th.
That's why the Alpha League.
He's got an Alpha Legion shirt on, dude.
Hell has no fury, like 3 redeploying Vindicators that are going to line break or bombardment you behind that wall. They don't hit a model, aim for a point. And when you clump up in one little ball because you're so defensive. And if I don't go first, I don't redeploy them to be monster aggressive and hit that one spot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's tons of options on that. That's in all seriousness, Robert, I choose to go first. I choose to go second. About 40% of the time, there's a lot of times that I want to get up on there, or I want to move block my opponent. But in a lot of games, I'd rather just go second to see where they're going to go and counter it, because I don't want to.
Then we either have different terrain or different meta, because I'm not alone in this fault. Like,
yeah, it's probably different terrain.
I've talked to Daniel and Henrik, and we're like, we always want to go first.
That's how I was in the beginning.
That you can see. Plus, you just bring up your shit against the board, so then you get to like dictate the counter charges a bit. I mean, if they have super fast units like Custode's Bike or like Harlequins, they'll charge you first.
If you're looking at like terrain from Pro Tabletop, LVO, Nova, things of that nature, you just have lots of things that are either obscured or just ruined walls, which are big. So I can just and if you bring an army that has speed and you already had 4 deployments, so you're probably blocking some of them already with infiltrators and cursors, whatever, putting things up, you can countercharge so effectively. Even like the Eldar list I'm playing right now is 3 Shining Spears and the rest Harlequins, and I literally use the Shining Spears for turn 1 killing whatever took that objective, because most of the time it's going to be smaller type units. If you bring a huge horde, you get into a little bit of a scrum, then I might want to go first. But most of your armies, you're looking at just lower body counts.
I've seen your tables that you guys play on, Robert. At least I've seen some of the ones that Daniel's shown me, and you guys actually have fine terrain. I think the problem is just it's the number of games. So the first games I was playing, I was deploying on the line. My opponent was deploying kind of on the line, and you can ask Brad the first deployment that he saw us do. And we're just like in the open, right? And the first person who goes just decimates the other army and takes position, right, at the same time. So they get position of the board and decimates the army in some way. So yes, of course, that's 100% always the way that, what you would want to do. But then what happens is someone gets smart and they go, I'm not going to deploy on the line. I'm going to deploy in the corners. I'm going to deploy behind terrain that you can't see through. I'm going to hide here. I'm going to reserve this unit in case I don't go first so they can strike from the flanks. I'm going to have this special stratagem up my sleeve in case I don't go first, or if I want a pregame move because my army is designed to do something pregame move or pregame redeploy. This is what starts to happen. And then one opponent is still in the dark ages deploying like aggressively to take objectives and strike. And then they realize that regardless if they go first or second, they're now going to get smashed because their opponent has all these other contingencies and plans and they're playing defensive. Then what's going to happen is both players start to play defensive. And then it's going to be really interesting because you're going to want your opponent to essentially put his dick on the table, right, and go for an objective, and then you're going to smash it. That's really the approach. I mean, that's what's going to happen. It's just going to take some time to get there. In the beginning, it all seems like first turn is ideal, but I don't think it's going to be.
We played all weekend. I had a bunch of people over to the local game store, the game room, and I went second in every single game. And basically half of them I chose to go second. The other half, my opponent went first. And I was fine all the time. But I also designed my army in my mindset, how I'm going to play it. To do that.
I don't even know, Brad, but did you win more of your games that you went second than when you went first?
I just won them all. So I wanted to make sure it was easier to figure out how it went.
Well, then you're not challenging yourself. You're playing against a bunch of sheep. Pro
Swedish opponents.
No, but
pro Swedish opponents. I thought
it was easier going second to win because I could immediately start contesting the progressive. And the thing is there's no kill points right now.
Yeah.
So like I'm playing Fred right now and he moves up, I kill him off or I contest his objectives and then he kills those units. I'm going to do the exact same thing next turn. I'm going to try to kill enough where I contest and or
same
hold.
Yep.
All I'm trying to do is make him get zeros on, those objectives. I can keep losing models over and over again. a couple of the games I won, I literally it looked like I lost because I had almost nothing left, but I was just churning up progressives throughout the game and move blocking and everything else.
So this is probably gonna be our final topic for today. Fred, did you have anything to weigh on? Going first, going second in the new edition? What are your thoughts?
I agree with you, Alan. In the beginning, I was trying to go first all the time, and then Saturday I was playing Noise Marines into Chaos Knights, and Noise Marines are all 24-inch range guns, and so I deployed behind terrain. He couldn't see me. I actually won the roll to go first, but I couldn't get any noise sonic blasters into range of a knight if I wanted to. So I just said go first. He went first. He moved up, killed some spawn who I couldn't hide. That's fine. Noise Marines got out of the Rhino, moved 9 inches forward. The priest, had popped the relic
+1
at the top of the turn. Here we go. We're going to light you up with 2 rounds of shooting on damaged 2 weapons into these 2 knights. Brought one down to 2 and brought the other one down to 8. That was just with a 10-man squad. But
Exactly.
I couldn't have done that if I went first.
Yeah. And then if you look back now, that first turn, top and bottom, you 100% won that turn, right? Your attrition on your bottom was way more than anything he could accomplish on his first turn. And I'm assuming you at least challenged somewhat of his board control at that point too. You took some of the objectives on your end and flanked.
That's what 5 naked raptors are for.
Yeah, there you go. 5 naked raptors. So I'm
fast enough to do that sort of stuff. They started making it into the list because of that,
Yeah.
Because you want something cheap that forces your opponent to make a play on that objective. And if you're going to go all elite, then that means something elite is going to have to come take me.
Yeah.
And you're just taking out 5 naked raptors.
I think what's an MVP unit in that Chaos book? What's the opposite of the obliterators? The close combat ones.
I had 2 units of 3 mutilators.
Mutilators. I think my call. I can't believe you had them. My call for Chaos is mutilators. Mutilators are the most point efficient objective holders. Period. They are annoying to kill because they're just like, why am I shooting at that unit? And you have to dedicate so much firepower to kill that unit. That unit is not dying easy.
I took my old metal obliterators and knocked the guns off of them and just put spike.
Dude, I'm telling you, no, good play. Good play.
You can't use the obliterator. You can't use them for obliterators anymore.
Yeah, good play. I haven't seen that online yet. That was a top tip I had that I haven't shared with anyone. But I know James Carmona knows about that one. We've talked about it. But yeah, those guys are legit. For the points efficiency there, and they can hold objectives like nobody's business. And if you come near them, they're great in combat. Like, they're fine in combat. They can hold their own against a lot of stuff. So you really have to dedicate something serious to kill them.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So anyways,
Alaska boys were talking them up for a while. I got that idea from them. Danny and Hot Cakes. I forget the name of it. They're going to kill me if they see this. Never mind. John Quinnell.
No worries.
They're from Alaska. They're sleeping right now.
Don't worry, no one's gonna see this. I'm gonna say something racist, and they're gonna have to bring it all down.
Yeah, you can't say racist stuff. Well, we're not on stream, so we're recording, Robert. I'm smart about having you on the cast.
We've learned from.
I've learned from previous things about you talking about Nazis and stuff.
Anyways, we're editing you all the time.
Yeah, you Swedish bastard. Fred, thank you so much for joining the cast today. Taking the time and giving us some new perspectives, some fresh looks at the game. We were glad you could join.
Thank you for inviting me. You guys were great.